Good morning and a happy Friday to you all. I hope you guys have had a great week and are ready for the weekend. We're going to be talking a little bit about Bo Prabula as well as some new transfers coming in and also looking at a big time returner for the Tigers that is hopefully going to make some noise. Made some noise in the backstretch of last year and hopefully he keeps that momentum going. So we're going to hop right into it and what's going on with Bo. Bo Prabula, of course, Mizzou's starting quarterback last year. He transferred to UVA even after Mizzou lost the bowl game to him. He entered the portal before that bowl game, of course. And well, when he transferred into Mizzou, he was very promising. There were people that were really fired up about it. The 10 games that he did play in, a little over 1,900 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. He also rushed for about 300 yards and 6 touchdowns that way. So 17 total touchdowns, just about 2,200 total yards and those 9 interceptions. So he's headed to UVA. Wasn't really good when he came back from that injury. The game against Oklahoma, threw 2 picks in that game. Most of those yards came in, garbage time to say the least. But it'll be interesting to see what happens at Virginia because earlier this week, it's come out that Chandler Morris, who was Virginia's quarterback last year, has basically filed a lawsuit against CAA to regain a season of eligibility. So, why does that mean something? Well, in addition to Bo Prabula transferring to UVA, Eli Holstein also transferred to UVA. He was the Pitt starting quarterback to open the 2025 season. He appeared in 7 games, had over 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Started the first 4 games for Pitt and then was benched after they went 2-2 on the year. So there was already going to be a quarterback competition at UVA for that starting quarterback spot between Bo Prabula and Eli Holstein. Now if Chandler Morris somehow gets another year, UVA somehow has 3 quarterbacks that have all started very meaningful Power 4 games last year in their quarterback room. You'd have to think Chandler Morris, if he does somehow get this eligibility, which it's very unlikely that he doesn't get this, but if he does, what happens? Because you can't really keep 3 quarterbacks that have started, like Bo Prabula started at Mizzou, like every game he was healthy. Eli Holstein started the first 4 games of the season for a Pitt team that's pretty strong, and Chandler Morris almost led UVA to the college football playoff, but they lost the ACC championship against Duke and ended up playing Mizzou in a bowl game. So it's a really, really interesting kind of aspect of, okay, if Chandler Morris does get this extra year, where does Bo go if he doesn't win the quarterback job? Because going into camp, it's expected that Bo would be the starter until this Chandler Morris kind of thing happened just a couple of days ago. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what kind of comes of this in terms of Chandler Morris getting that extra year. If he doesn't, you like to think Bo would be the starter at Virginia. He was signed before Holstein. So, they're going to go at it in camp, of course. Bo Prabula is no stranger to a quarterback competition in camp. Of course, had it with Drew Aller at Penn State, Sam Horn at Mizzou last year. But it'd be really interesting to see what kind of happens with Chandler Morris. If he's back, does Bo transfer? Does Eli Holstein transfer? Because this is Bo's last year of eligibility. You got to assume he's going to be trying to play football somewhere. So really interesting to look at for the former Mizzou quarterback. We'll definitely keep you updated on the Chandler Morris situation, what happens there. How's Bo doing in camp? You always got to keep an eye out for these former Tigers. Switching things up a little bit. New blindside blocker for the Missouri Tigers is going to be Josh Atkins. So started his career at Houston, then was at Hawaii, and at Arizona State, he really made a name for himself. Was very, very strong in 2024 and 2025. Started all 14 games for the Sun Devils in 2024. That extended his streak to 27 straight starts in that 2024. He's now started 39 straight games coming to Mizzou after starting 12 last year for Arizona State. And he's very, very strong, very, very big guy. Played a left tackle, which means he was the blindside blocker for Sam Levitt, who is now, of course, at LSU, and it was one of Lane Kiffin's top recruits. So he's got some pretty strong experience with protecting the blind side for some pretty big name quarterbacks. Well, of course, if Austin Simmons wins the job, He's a lefty, so his blind side would be right tackle. Maybe you could see Josh Atkins switch over to right tackle. So a lot to figure out there, but Josh Atkins, very, very strong season, 791 snaps this past year, graded as the number 53 left tackle in college football, according to PFF. Allowed just 3 sacks and about 450 pass sets, 2 QB hits, 13 QB hurries in those 14 games. The 2024 started all 14 games for the Sun Devils. So if you guys remember, Arizona State made the college football playoff in 2024. That was the Cam Scadaboo year where he threw a touchdown pass or ran for a touchdown pass. So the Big 12 championship, which basically guaranteed Arizona State that spot in the college football playoff, he was graded as the best Big 12 tackle in any postseason game. He had an 83 pass blocking grade. That's very, very, very high. And he appeared in 760 snaps in the 2024 season. So the guy has played a heck of a lot of football. 6'4", 315 pounds. Like I said, 39 consecutive starts now. Was a team captain in Arizona State last year. He's just got this 1 year of eligibility remaining. So hopefully big difference for him and his draft stock coming to Mizzou and being a Tiger after being a Sun Devil, a Rainbow Warrior, and a Cougar. Pretty cool to see him kind of bounce around. And after being a team captain for Arizona State, for him to leave and head to the SEC, Eli Drinkwitz has been doing wonders in the portal for the Tigers, as you can continue to see with the addition of Josh Atkins. So probably be playing the right tackle position if Austin Simmons wins the job, just because he's got the familiarity. But we'll kind of see what happens in terms of camp. But switching over to some pretty interesting kind of transfer portal news. So Mizzou has 3 transfers from Miami and 3 transfers from Ole Miss. The Ole Miss ones we've talked about already. That's Caden Lee, Austin Simmons, and Chris Graves Jr. The Miami ones are a bit under the radar. It's pretty interesting with Damon Wilson heading to Miami. The Hurricanes have 3 of their former players coming to Mizzou. So Malik Bryant, an edge rusher, Bobby Washington, a linebacker, and Donta Simpson, a defensive lineman, are all going to be playing for the Tigers in the 2026 season. So we'll start with Malik Bryant. 4 games he played in as a junior in 2025, 2 tackles. Also had a solo tackle in the game against Notre Dame in week 1. He also saw some action in the game against Texas A&M in the playoff quarterfinal. All these players, they played late into January. Like, they were on the national championship team. A couple of them participated in the national championship game. So pretty interesting to look at. In 2024, he played in 12 games. So he's played in a lot of football games. Had 1.5 sacks that year, along with 5 tackles for loss. Kind of saw his role regress a little bit in 2025, talking about Malik Bryant. So hopefully he gets going again with the Tigers. Going to make an impact, of course, in that edge position, firing off and getting to the quarterback. Be pretty cool to see that. So next player we're going to talk about is Bobby Washington. He didn't play much in 2025 at all, actually, and then in 2024 was mostly just on special teams. But good linebacker piece in terms of depth. You can't have too many linebackers, can't have too many offensive linemen, can't have those guys in the trenches. So pretty cool to see that. And then the final third guy coming over from Miami to Mizzou is Donta Simpson, a defensive lineman who played 8 games for the Hurricanes this year. 1.5 tackles for loss, a quarterback hurry, and 4 tackles in that game. So these are all players that played some pretty meaningful football. Definitely think that Malik Bryant will have a big impact in the earlier sets of the season just because of his experience, playing in that game against Notre Dame, getting a solo tackle, also playing in the game against Texas A&M. So you'd like to think that he would be a pretty core part of a defensive line kind of edge position room for Mizzou and making an impact. Definitely Bobby Washington, more of a linebacker depth piece. And then Donta Simpson could definitely see him rotating in on the defensive line. All some pretty big and strong guys coming from Miami. They produce their athletes down there, so pretty cool to see them heading over to Mizzou. And capping things off, Nicholas Rodriguez is coming back to Mizzou, stud linebacker. He had 15 tackles in the bowl game against Virginia. If you're watching that game, I know it was 2 months ago now, but watching that game, you heard the name Nick Rodriguez quite a lot. Nick Rodriguez. You heard that name quite a lot in that game. He actually finished the season with 61 tackles. He only started 3 games of the season. He started against Arkansas, he started the bowl game against Virginia, and he started the game against UMass. So 61 total tackles on the year, 27 of those solo tackles, 1.5 sacks and 4 tackles for loss. Also pretty crazy, he led the team in pass breakups with 7 from the linebacker position, but you can really expect him with Robert Woodyard Jr. to be definitely playing that linebacker position, and pretty cool to hopefully see a bit of improvement there from Nicholas Rodriguez. I mean, he had a great end of the year, but I mean, you get that full camp and he's ready to go. Robert Woodyard's going to slide in that Josiah Trotter role, we feel. Nicholas Rodriguez will play similar to the role he played last year, it seems. Of course, we're going to find out a little bit more from Corey Batoon as he talks after some spring ball that's coming up here pretty soon. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. And then on Monday, we will recap everything that happened from the Tigers in the Combine. We'll take a look at all of that on Monday, as well as a little bit of spring ball action because the Tigers get going today on Friday. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Mizzou Daily. Hope you have a great weekend.